Greetings, fellow seekers of the greater good. Today our focus turns to a most dangerous and unpredictable foe, the Orcs. Across the stars, these brutish Xenos represent a violent and unrelenting threat to the harmony and unity we strive to create within our empire. Unfettered by morality or order, the Orcs thrive in war and devastation, driven by primal instinct and a fanatical love for unending conflict. In their every action, they embody the very chaos we, as adherents to the greater good, seek to control. Yet, despite their apparent mindlessness, we must understand that the Orcs, in their own brutish way, possess a dangerous form of cohesion, one that allows them to wreak havoc on a galactic scale. It is easy to view the Orcs as little more than an unorganized rabble, driven solely by their bloodlust and barbarism. However, beneath their chaotic veneer lies a crude structure, one that organizes them into distinct clans, each with its own cultural quirks, warfare strategies, and social identity. While they lack the centralized order we value in Tau society, the clans act as rough pillars of their culture, guiding their warlike tendencies. Understanding the structure and philosophy of each clan is key to countering the Orcs' destructive nature. Our examination of the Orc clans will reveal the various ways in which their chaotic and violent existence stands in stark contrast to the philosophy of the greater good. By learning the nuances of each clan, we arm ourselves with the knowledge necessary to confront and defeat them. The Orcs may revel in anarchy, but through discipline, strategy, and advanced technology, we can ensure that their primitive ways do not stand in the way of the harmonious future we are building for all sentient life. Before delving into the specific clans, it is important to first understand the broader framework of Orc society. The Orcs are a species like no other, genetically predisposed to war and violence. Their entire existence revolves around the concept of conflict. Unlike the Tau, who cherish unity, progress, and technological innovation, Orcs thrive in a state of perpetual battle, not only with other races but even amongst themselves. This violent nature is not simply cultural but biological, as Orcs are born with an inherent need to fight. The Orcs are organized into a crude hierarchy, where strength is the ultimate determinant of power. Warlords, the strongest among them, rule not through diplomacy or strategy but through brute force. Any sign of weakness or failure is met with immediate challenges to their authority, often in the form of violent rebellion by their underlings. This system, while seemingly chaotic, ensures that only the most powerful Orcs rise to leadership roles. It is important to note that this hierarchy is not as rigid as the caste system of the Tau. It is fluid, constantly shifting as new warlords emerge and old ones are overthrown. A key aspect of Orc society is their mysterious connection to the psychic energy generated by their collective belief in war and destruction, enhances their ability to fight and unites them on a subconscious level. The psychic field is a unique phenomenon in the galaxy, as it is not wielded like the psychic powers of other species, such as the Eldar or the forces of chaos, but instead functions as a subconscious force that strengthens Orcs' morale, coordination, and even the effectiveness of their technology. Remarkably, Orc technology works primarily because Orcs believe it should. What they lack in scientific understanding, they make up for with sheer conviction. This bizarre form of technological function makes Orc wargear deceptively powerful, even though it appears crude and ramshackle to outside observers. The energy generated by their collective belief can turn even the most disorganized Orc horde into a deadly and unified force on the battlefield, making them more aggressive and dangerous. The Tau, with our advanced understanding of psychology and social cohesion, must account for this phenomenon when planning engagements against Orc forces. In Orc society, the various clans serve as loose affiliations that provide cultural identity and a rough sense of purpose to the individuals within them. While they may seem disorganized from our perspective, these clans dictate how Orcs fight, how they think, and how they interact with the galaxy at large. Understanding the characteristics and tendencies of each clan will allow us to develop more refined strategies to combat their unique threats. Among the Orc clans, the Goffs are the epitome of brute force. They are the largest, strongest, and most aggressive Orcs, prizing raw physical power above all else. For the Goffs, war is not a matter of strategy or cunning, it is a pure test of strength. These orcs revel in hand-to-hand combat, where they can unleash their savage might. They disdain anything that seems un-orky, such as advanced tactics, ranged weaponry, or excessive reliance on technology. In their eyes, an orc's worth is measured by how hard they can hit and how many enemies they can kill in close combat. The Goffs' philosophy is reflected in their choice of weaponry. They favor crude but devastating melee weapons like choppas, power claws, and massive axes. Their warbands are composed of vast hordes of boys, led by knobs, larger, more brutal orcs who serve as commanders. At the top of this hierarchy is the warboss, a figure of immense strength and brutality who rules through fear and intimidation. From the perspective of the Tau, the Goffs represent a direct and relentless threat. Their love of close combat makes them extremely dangerous in engagements where they can close the distance to their enemies. However, this single-minded focus on melee combat also presents a key weakness. The Goffs' disdain for ranged combat and strategy leaves them vulnerable to our advanced weaponry and disciplined battlefield tactics. The Firecast warriors, trained to maintain distance and engage with precision, are ideally suited to counter the Goffs' brute force approach. By utilizing superior positioning, mobility, and the long-range firepower of our pulse rifles, we can dismantle Goff warbands before they can close the distance and engage in melee combat. Nevertheless, we must never underestimate the Goffs' sheer ferocity. Their unrelenting nature can overwhelm even the most prepared defenses if not properly handled. It is crucial that we remain disciplined and focused when facing the Goffs, exploiting every advantage to prevent them from turning the battlefield into the chaotic bloodbath they crave. In stark contrast to the brute strength of the Goffs, the Evil Sunz clan values speed above all else. For the Evil Sunz, the thrill of battle is inseparable from the thrill of going fast. These orcs are obsessed with vehicles, believing that the faster they move, the better they fight. This obsession with speed is not only a tactical advantage, but a way of life for the Evil Sunz, who adorn their wargear with red paint, in the belief that red ones go fasta. The Evil Sunz excel at rapid assaults, utilizing an array of ramshackle but surprisingly effective vehicles such as warbikes, trucks, and buggies. Their mech boys, orc engineers with an instinctual understanding of technology, support these high-speed warbands by cobbling together all manner of war machines to ensure that the Evil Sunz can outmaneuver their enemies. Speed is their weapon, allowing them to close distances quickly and overwhelm slower forces before they can react. For the Tau, combating the Evil Sunz requires a different approach than facing the brute strength of the Goffs. While the Goffs can be kept at bay with disciplined long-range engagements, the Evil Sunz' speed poses a more dynamic threat. Their fast-moving vehicles enable them to outflank and overrun unprepared defenses. To counter this, the Tau must rely on mobility and adaptability. Our advanced skimmers, drones, and battlesuits, equipped with jetpacks and enhanced sensors, allow us to outmaneuver even the fastest orc vehicles, striking from unexpected angles and denying the Evil Sunz the direct assault they seek. The Evil Sunz' obsession with speed, however, also leads to recklessness. Their vehicles, while fast, are often fragile and prone to breakdowns. By targeting the weak points in their vehicles, wheels, engines, and fuel supplies, the Tau can disable their mobility, rendering them vulnerable to precision strikes. Once the Evil Sunz lose their speed advantage, they become little more than poorly armed boys, easily neutralized by superior Tau firepower and tactics. The Bad Moon's clan presents a stark contrast to the crude simplicity of the Goffs and the speed-obsessed Evil Sunz. Known for their wealth and love of ostentatious displays, the Bad Moons are the richest of all orcs, thanks to a unique biological trait that causes them to grow teeth, used as currency in orc society, at an accelerated rate. This abundance of wealth allows them to acquire the finest wargear, the most heavily armored vehicles, and the gaudiest trophies to display their power. Bad Moon's warbands are notorious for their opulence, often adorned with gold plating, trophies, and elaborate decorations that showcase their status. However, wealth in orc society is not just for show. It translates directly into battlefield power. The Bad Moons pride themselves on having the biggest guns and the most powerful vehicles. Their warbands are armed to the teeth with custom-built weaponry known as daka, capable of delivering devastating firepower from a distance. While most orcs prefer close-quarters combat, the Bad Moons are content to blast their enemies from afar, relying on their superior firepower to win battles before they even engage in melee. From the perspective of the Tau, the Bad Moons represent a unique challenge. Their heavy reliance on long-range firepower means that they can engage us at distances that other orcs cannot. In some cases, their sheer volume of fire can rival even the advanced weaponry of the fire caste. However, their obsession with wealth and material possessions also makes them vulnerable. The Bad Moons often overestimate the power of their gear, becoming overconfident and predictable in their strategies. The key to defeating the Bad Moons lies in targeting their most prized assets, their expensive war machines and heavy weapons. By neutralizing these, we can strip them of their tactical advantage and force them into disarray. It is also worth noting that the Bad Moons' greed can sometimes distract them from the primary objectives of battle. Their desire for plunder often leads them to prioritize looting over fighting, making them predictable in their movements. The Tau can exploit this by luring Bad Moons' warbands into traps or ambushes, where their focus on looting becomes a liability rather than an advantage. If the Bad Moons represent the wealthiest and most ostentatious of the Orc clans, the Death Skulls are their mirror image, the scavengers and looters of Orc society. The Death Skulls are opportunists to the core, seeing every battlefield as a treasure trove of loot waiting to be collected. They specialize in stealing and repurposing the technology, vehicles, and weapons of their enemies, cobbling together a wide variety of war gear to suit their needs. For the Death Skulls, no battle is complete without taking something valuable from the battlefield. They are masters of improvisation, able to turn even the most broken and dysfunctional war gear into a functioning weapon of war. Their mech boys are particularly adept at jury-rigging new weapons from whatever they can scavenge, making them one of the most adaptable Orc clans. What makes the Death Skulls particularly dangerous is their unpredictability. No two Death Skull warbands are armed in quite the same way, as their looted technology can vary wildly depending on what they've managed to scavenge. For the Tau, the Death Skulls present a unique set of challenges. Their ability to quickly adapt and repurpose enemy technology means that they can use our own weapons and vehicles against us if we are not careful. However, this reliance on looted gear is also a weakness. Much of the equipment they use is poorly maintained and prone to malfunction, and their lack of discipline makes them susceptible to more organized forces. By denying them opportunities to scavenge and targeting their looted war gear, the Tau can limit the Death Skull's ability to adapt and force them into disarray. The Snakebites are the most traditional of all Orc clans, rejecting the technological advancements embraced by other Orcs in favor of a more primitive, back-to-basics approach to warfare. For the Snakebites, the old ways are best, and they take pride in their toughness and resilience. They shun the use of advanced war gear, preferring instead to fight with simple weapons, beasts of burden, and their own brute strength. Snakebite warbands are known for their reliance on orcoid beasts such as squigs, which they use in place of vehicles. Their warriors are notoriously resilient, shrugging off injuries that would incapacitate other orcs. This toughness, combined with their primitive yet effective tactics, makes the Snakebites a formidable opponent in battle. While they lack the technological sophistication of other clans, their sheer endurance allows them to weather prolonged engagements and keep fighting long after most enemies would have been defeated. For the Tau, the Snakebites' refusal to adopt advanced technology presents both a challenge and an opportunity. On the one hand, their resilience makes them difficult to defeat through conventional means. On the other hand, their reliance on primitive tactics and war gear leaves them vulnerable to the superior firepower and mobility of the fire caste. The key to defeating the Snakebites lies in maintaining distance and using long-range weaponry to wear them down before they can engage in close combat. Their resilience can be overcome by focused, sustained fire, and their primitive tactics can be easily outmaneuvered by more advanced battlefield strategies. The Blood Axes are perhaps the most unconventional of all Orc clans, employing tactics that other Orcs would consider downright un-Orky. Unlike their kind, who favor brute strength and direct combat, the Blood Axes are known for their cunning and pragmatism. They are willing to use stealth, ambushes, and even diplomacy to achieve their goals, making them one of the most dangerous Orc clans for the Tau to face. The Blood Axes' willingness to work with other races, including humans, sets them apart from other Orcs. They are often willing to act as mercenaries, selling their services to the highest bidder in exchange for loot or weapons. This pragmatic approach to warfare makes them unpredictable, as they can switch allegiances or tactics depending on the situation. For the Tau, the key to defeating the Blood Axes lies in understanding their motivations. As mercenaries, they are often more concerned with profit than loyalty, and this can be exploited. By undermining their alliances, disrupting their supply lines, or simply outmaneuvering their tactics, the Tau can force the Blood Axes into a position where their pragmatism becomes a liability rather than a strength. Additionally, the Blood Axes' use of stealth and ambush tactics requires careful planning and vigilance. The Tau must maintain constant awareness on the battlefield, using advanced sensor systems and drones to detect and neutralize Blood Axe ambushes before they can strike. The Orc clans represent a diverse and dangerous set of foes, each with its own strengths, weaknesses, and peculiarities. From the savage brutality of the Goffs to the cunning of the Blood Axes, the Orcs are a formidable threat to the harmony we seek to establish across the galaxy. Yet, as followers of the greater good, we understand that knowledge is the key to victory. By studying the tactics, culture, and weaknesses of each clan, we can develop strategies that exploit their chaotic nature and turn their strengths against them. While the Orcs may revel in destruction and anarchy, we stand as a beacon of unity, discipline, and progress. Through careful planning, superior technology, and unwavering dedication to the greater good, we will ensure that the barbaric ways of the Orcs do not stand in the way of the peaceful future we are building. Let this knowledge guide us as we continue our noble quest to bring peace and order to the stars, for the greater good.